meat and curry, I'm your man. Cause how we all lose it is a mystery. It's like the changing of our wardrobes from a dire history. But it's the one making us not stop. 50 kilograms is all we've got to drop. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well today. Well, I've been better. I got my internet had to get fixed, but hopefully we've solved that problem.
So we're on day 87 out of the 90 days. And Taylor isn't with us for the viewers. He's detoxing in Mike's words, but in Taylor's words, he's got a sore throat. So he was at work today looking very sorry for himself, but he'll be back on for the last one.
Okay.
I'm feeling fantastic.
Good. Good.
I'm in a total routine with this, and my brain is telling me I'm constantly fighting. Like, you can't keep everyone goes, you can't keep this up for this long. You can't keep doing this. Someone said that you would, if you don't have greens or carbohydrates, you'll die. That's what I had. I was like, okay. The more I tell, like, I'm visibly like crazily lower now. I'm officially 136 kilograms today, which is 25 kilograms down since January. So double that for pounds. And I've had to buy new trousers. I've had to buy new shirts. I've had to buy everything. And I went through a little phase where I was fat-owing a bit and it wasn't coming off.
All
And
right.
now it's really come off and I'm like noticeably smaller. And I've been doubling down on sports. I've been boxing. I'm going back to hot yoga to face my fears on Sunday morning. I've been looking into cycling. I want to get into cycling. And yeah, now I'm in a situation where it's like, I thoroughly enjoy this. And I've been like this before where I feel fantastic. However, I also feel like I want to have a bit of old life fun back, but in a regulated manner, where if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it for a week and not worry about it, but not like crazy. Just and truth be told, the stuff that I'm thinking about is more alcohol fun related than diet related. I think dieting is now. I think at the start I was fighting the urge to try and eat loads like I've always been doing for ages. I still have a tendency to go and buy loads of food, but I can't finish the food. I just eat like a bit and then put it down and I'm gone. So that kind of food, what I used to call Labrador eyes, right? If you ever got a dog and they're staring at you, right? When someone's eating, they're staring at you. I used to have that when I was eating, right? And when people were eating around me and I'd be wanting to eat everything and that sort of stuff. That's gone for me. But I think the bit that I'm missing is this kind of, like, I'm totally for having a life where I'm feeling totally right, but I do think I need to have a little bit of wrong in me. And I'm at peace actually to never drink again, but I don't see it as a problem that's going to affect me that much. So in a controlled environment, I don't mind going back to it with the views of then seeing how I affect with it and keep it under wraps, if you see what I mean. So my plan is to do it over holidays. But what I want to do, which is the bit I haven't been able to do while I was so fat, is get my sports into a full routine. And now I'm feeling fit, alive, ready, and I'm going to box all the time, train all the time, do everything, which is so much better than where I've been in the past, because I was just getting injured every 5 minutes because I was just too big to do anything. And yeah, I'm feeling strong, feeling fit. I've also got some kind of life highs coming out of that workout stuff. We did a boxing session the other night and I couldn't sleep because of the adrenaline. It was like, he worked us so hard that I was just like wide awake. It's still 11 o'clock and I'm feeling really positive. And I think this has been a massive eye opener for me of how sugar's affected me over the years. And interestingly, we're getting a load of clips done for the old episodes of the podcast at the moment. And I regularly said, sugar's the issue, sugar's the issue, sugar's the issue, but never actually put it into practice.
Right.
There's a clip of me saying every time I give up sugar, I feel instantly better. I feel like alive, that sort of stuff. And I don't have any fog in my brain, but as soon as I eat sugar, I can't concentrate in the afternoon. I can't do this.
Yep.
And I didn't even know I was saying it. Obviously, this has made me think of it. And I'm looking at these clips going, I was saying that 2 years ago, and this is kind of proving my own head right, which is a positive thing for it all. But what I'm thinking about now is kind of like I loved what I had when I boxed for the second time. So when I boxed the first time, I was smoking 30 a day cigarettes, and I managed to give up all of that. I never touched a cigarette again after the first session because I couldn't breathe.
Mm.
And I just quit that. So that first one was kind of giving up that and staying sober for the first time for a long period of time for like 3 months. Won the fight. The second fight, I got into this routine where I was like genuinely an athlete. I was working out every day, doing strength training, doing everything else. Didn't have any injuries. I felt great. I was going to stuff like yoga. I was much more positive. And when I drank, it was like off the back of a massive week of exercise anyway. So it's not as if you're going to get blind drunk and everything else is going to come out there, because I always had something planned. And I've got the confidence now that I can get back to that life. That's the bit that I really enjoyed that routine. It was lockdown. I look back over the years of my weight gain and COVID, where we were locked down. I gained 30 kilograms in that in the first bit, which was
Mm.
only like 6 months.
Right.
And I've been struggling to get that back off ever since. And now it's off. I'm totally raring to go where I feel back again. So that's a lot to digest, really. But I'm very positive, and I want to carry on the diet for the next, well, till June probably, and then I want to have a holiday in June. I want to enjoy a bit of the summer, and then I want to go into a boxing camp September, October, then fight November. But usually I have to lose 20 kilograms while I'm training. So I have to eat like a little and then train. Whereas
Mm.
my plan is to get it off, keep it off, and then start exercising, training where I can eat loads and fuel properly,
Mhm.
which should make me a lot fitter, stronger, better, and ready to take over the world.
I love it. So the only concerns I have, two concerns. One, like, I genuinely have enjoyed this trip with you, and I really want to be there when you drink.
I
So
agree.
we need to do this like once a month instead of once a week, maybe for a little bit, while
Yeah.
you traverse the next few months, 6 months or whatever. And then, it's not my job to tell you you don't drink, you do whatever. It's just my job to see what happened, to be there on the other side, you know what I mean? Like, to see, because basically what we're dealing with now is, and I think the attitude part, although you've always had a good attitude anyway, is the biochemical repair that you've gone through by not having the sugar, the lack of brain clarity, the brain fog and all that. And alcohol is really straight sugar. And while it seems to be ingested differently and celebrated differently and used differently in a social context, it's not that much different as a substance of, I don't, we'll leave the word abuse out of it, but a substance of use that is, but I think the cruelest joke the universe or God or whoever played on us is that you don't get that high buzz or that social, you don't feel like you do with the sugar. Although if you're paying attention and you're many years with no sugar and no alcohol, a little bit of sugar acts just like a martini, or just, a little bit of sugar will, give you a self-soothing, a raise in self-esteem that I think is so imperceptible. Is the cruel joke is that it's just, it's a perfect high if used correctly. You know what I mean? If used by people who are not addicted or abused, and so again, it's different, so different in every person. It's hard to calculate or hard to describe, but what I'm trying to explain here is that I want to know how you feel the next day. I want to know if it brings sugar cravings back, it makes you hungry for carbohydrates, or if there is a different effect of the alcohol than what you remember. With this metabolic healing that you have, the alcohol may affect you differently. You may get, they may not be able to drink as much. You may feel worse. And again, you may set up cravings for more stuff. So I just want to watch. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm also interested for my own mind that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to be definitely doing it. I also, I'm incredibly productive at the moment, so I don't want to ruin that.
Yeah.
And alcohol does usually make me go, wow, well, what's the point?
Well, we did talk about some successes you're having in your career before we came on, but I have a whole chicken and the egg kind of thing. It's like, what came first kind of, yes, you've been building towards it and working towards it, but
Truth be told, though, Mike, the clients that I won was because I was in a pub with them in December. I've only just I've had the mental clarity to deliver after that. But, no, I do know what I mean. Last week we talked about anxiety a lot, right?
okay.
And I played darts in a pub, and it was a very busy pub, and it was very loud, right?
I remember.
Too much going on, and I had this like horrible chest pain, anxiety type feeling. The next day, I went and met an old colleague of mine in a pub. Got exactly the same feeling. Wasn't playing darts. Could be linked to pubs. And the more I think about it, it stayed with me for a couple of days. We went on over down to the countryside on the weekends with the dog and went for a few country walks and this sort of stuff. Super peaceful thing. But I wasn't myself. I wasn't feeling it because it like affected me.
Right.
Which was weird. And I feel fine now, and I felt fine this week. But I had where I was kind of sitting in the middle of nowhere as well. I had a lot of time to think about it, and I felt as if there's something there about pubs, maybe socializing, whatever, where I don't feel comfortable, which is weird. It's like an actual chest pain, and the only other time I had it was when I was younger, and it was like an exam. And I had it there. It was like this horrible pain, breathlessness. You breathe out your chest, that sort of stuff, and it's all linked to that. And I don't have any remedies to get. I have some breathing exercises that I do if I can't sleep, which work. But I can't really do that in a pub. You can't
Yeah.
breathing through it. So, and maybe it's because of what we're doing here is kind of like no alcohol, no alcohol, no alcohol, no alcohol. This place serves alcohol. You want to do it. And at the time, I have no cravings at all to drink alcohol. But I think it's something to do with the noise. It's something to do with the amount of people and noise, maybe.
Well, two things. One, I really think you should take the Myers-Briggs and find out if you're an introvert. Then the second one is there's a lot of our community is involved in the work of a woman named Elaine Aronson and called the highly sensitive person. And if you're introverted and a highly sensitive, which a lot of our folks are, strangely, that's what I am, you may, have used the alcohol to blunt that feeling that your experiences that, testing and whatever, those experiences. And, not only is it a mental thing, but it's sound and light and, that kind of stuff. So it's just a kind of a deeper dive into your own, who you are. And one of the things that sugar and alcohol covers up are these things. So you're not really acting at your core, what's the right word? Congruent or authentic to your own makeup, if you will. And then the sugar and the alcohol, they help mitigate those things, you know what I mean? And so I think that's just a process of discovery. And I have to give kudos and exclaim my pleasure that you are actually identifying this and digging into it, you know? I mean, if you get a chance, the next time it comes up in a pub, you know, and you get a chance to go sit alone for a minute, even in the pub, but maybe outside, just ask yourself, literally, like deep breaths and ask yourself, what is this damn thing? Well, what is this? And your body may give you the answer. You know what I mean? You may get it mentally, you may get it physically, but you'll start to understand. It's called, my mentor or person called it living in process. What sugar and alcohol does, starting from a very young age, is interrupt the processes, the emotional processes of self-soothing and dealing with life's everyday stresses and strains. And God forbid anything bad happens, any, traumas. And because then you double down and use more of it. And so when we get off of it all, they come back. The phrase I love is the issues are in the tissues. So the body doesn't forget that these things exist, and they just begin to surface. And without understanding what they were and not having 30 years of dealing with them, because you use the sugar as that mitigator, as that, self-soothing process, they come up and they're a little bit of a mystery to us, and sometimes they're violent. Sometimes it's crying and, weeping and pain, and people don't really, the common refrain is, Mike, I'm losing my mind, because they don't really understand what's happening to them. But what's happening to them is a backlog of not dealing with shit, like it's this, like, coming up now. It's the whole, the emotional eating folks get a part of this right, it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you, kind of thing, is their kind of phrase. And but they miss the addiction piece of the puzzle. They believe that you can do it in moderation, but the discovery process, as you're experiencing, only happens when you get 100% abstinent and get some biochemical repair in your brain, in your myelination, in your neural pathways, to assess it. I mean, the positive feelings are from that healing, but that's not going to negate the processes that you need to learn to do this holistically, as opposed to substance-based that you have been doing for 30 or 40, 30 years. So you're right on track. It's that my job is to teach you what living in process is, what the process is, and to deal with it holistically and not with a substance, right? And so that you default to, what the hell is this? Why is this happening? What is this feeling? And you're going to have new and strange feelings, but you're not going to have them. One of the problems with intelligent people is they spend a lot of time in their mind, in their brain, like they're whirling it around all the time, and it never goes the 12 inches to their body and their, their heart and their soul and their core and other parts of their body. So, but the body's holding the secrets, the body's holding the trauma, the body's holding the issues. And so you've got to, this is a perfect example of this. This is a perfect example of you identifying what the hell this is. And it's a process. It's a process of figuring it out. It's a little puzzle. And so you just got to lean into that puzzle. I always hate the phrase lean into it, but it works. It's appropriate here. So lean into it, deep breaths, closed eyes, separated if you can from some, whatever the issue, the people around you, you're alone, and just say, what is this feeling? How does it compare to when I was taking exams as a kid? Is it different? What is it? You will get the answer. You know what I mean? The answer will come to you.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. And I also think with substances, people will go, oh, I probably need to lay off the booze because I'm getting a bit paranoid, or I might need to lay off this. And that could be just the natural habit to just blame the substance, right?
Yep.
Instead of doing the thinking themselves. I think I've been guilty of that in the past, but yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's weird.
Well, again, it's the process of, it's like algebra, you know, they even give you credit if they show your work right, but you don't get the right answer. It's the same thing here, is like you learn the process of delving into it. And always it's better with people. It's always better with what and not me, I didn't invent the term, but is called a loving mirror. You know, your spouse can help if you're willing to be vulnerable there. Taylor definitely can help. You know, I can help. You know, if you go into the community and find a couple of the guys, maybe build some, you know, where you can actually talk about this stuff in a language that sounds very different than the pub talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, buck it up, man, and give me a pint. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's like they don't want to talk about it because at some level they kind of understand what you're talking about, but they don't want to go there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a weird relationship with me in pubs. I started, so as a kid, we always grew up going to a social club that my granddad used to run, and there was always pub scene, family, that sort of thing. I think my dad always used to bring him in there, but I was always fine with them. And then when I was 16 years old, I started working as a security guard in a nightclub. Lied about my age to get that job.
Because you're 6'4".
Yeah, I got a nice bit of cash in hand, so I kept that rolling. I'd spend my Saturdays sitting in different pubs, drinking away, gambling on football and that sort of stuff. And I remember when I started when my career turned and I started doing all right at work, I didn't want that life anymore after a period of time, and I didn't want to sit there spending my spare time on that sort of stuff. So I used to play a lot of sports instead. I used to play football and this sort of stuff, and I've kind of fallen out of love with football because I'm just sick of being injured all the time. But maybe that's it. And after work, I used to love going to the pub. It'd be like a celebratory thing at work with the people with you. You'd be celebrating wins or getting to know your staff a bit better and getting to understand this sort of stuff. And as I've moved out of people management, I haven't had that desire to really learn about the people that I'm working with because I'm very like isolated in what I do now.
And
And
do you find that easier psychologically and emotionally? Being
yeah,
more,
I've never been less stressed. Yeah, but then again, I've got clients that want to take me out and do the same sort of thing, or want me to take them
or
out, and I want to spend time with them. But the thought of sitting in like there's a client out today, and they're getting blind drunk, and
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like and I really don't mind people drinking and this sort of stuff, but I'd like to be able to have an exit, and with clients, can't really have an exit because you're there for like 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever. And also, I don't like being the person talking about why I'm not drinking or why
yeah,
because that gets
that's
boring real quick. I went to a 40th birthday party last night and they were meeting up in a pub and going for a curry. So I met up for the pub bit, had a couple of fizzy waters and went on my way.
yeah.
But spoke about how I've lost all this weight for the first hour and a half, which I'm so bored of. I was just like, right, I'm leaving now. I'm going to go. I got a chance to ask a lot of questions about other people and understand a bit more about their situation and pick my mate's brain about cycling, which helped. But yeah, maybe it's like because the weekend was also weird. It was like me and my missus do these little trips around the UK where we go and do a bit of countryside or a beach or something like that, and then take the dog out and this sort of stuff. They're all very relaxed and not like massive drinking sessions, but we've always had a few drinks where we're quite relaxed around that sort of thing. And I found it a bit weird this time because it was like this would be like a couple of drinks would have been perfect for that then, and then I was kind of like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And then it was really nice. We had nice food, we had nice walks, we had total peace, total serenity, that sort of stuff. But it was a bit like,
That'll pass. That's just a getting acclimated session or process, you know, it'll take a little bit. But how does your wife feel about this? Like she's obviously doesn't have a drinking problem and there's no problem, or I don't know that, but I'm just saying like a couple of drinks, like you're not, is she, and how does that go?
we have a very social life. Like, but she loves going out drinking with her friends. I always did. That's how we met. We've always had fun with drinking, but we've never been people that would drink at home Monday through to Friday. We don't drink really. Sunday through to Friday we don't drink. So it's only the weekends where we'd probably fall into that binge category. I'm a hell of a lot more alert with it, like present, that sort of stuff at the moment. But I do think we miss a little bit of fun at the moment. To be honest, I think that's the bit, and I think she feels
Yeah.
that as much as me. And there's only so many dog walks you can go on, right? We'd walk the dog anyway, so
Yeah, no, you'll work through all this. I think that the more important part of it is the understanding of whatever the feelings are that are feeling strange and keeping an eye on them. But no, also in this situation, you know, you have to kind of assess that maybe she's missing that from your, and she may have to grieve a little bit, right? Of the life that, you know, you met that way, and, you know, you would both have friend groups and whatever.
she hates the fact I'm up at 6 o'clock every Saturday morning, and when she wants to lay in, I know that. I can feel her eyes in the back of my head.
I got it.
Yeah, because it wakes the dog up as well, which then wakes her up, and it's all just a bit of a mess.
Right. And these are new things. They're just like the not, you know, I know, definitely know what you understand when you like have to explain for an hour, like why, how you lost the weight and what's, you know, that you don't eat vegetables, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like that you're there to talk business, and now the conversation is turning to your health or whatever. You know?
Yeah, and
So,
also it's like, no, I've literally just eaten meat, fish, and animal fats for 3 months, and then
yeah,
you get but you're allowed spinach, right? And you're like, no, I haven't eaten that.
all right.
What about mushrooms? And then it's like, well, I read somewhere, and it's like, no, it's really easy. Like I've eaten meat and just meat.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Well, no, I think that I just, you know, let's get Taylor on the next one, but I just want to be part of the next show, especially with Taylor too. I mean, you too, but obviously, but both of you, because, you know, being single, his struggles will be different, you know, a little bit. And he's detoxing, his throat's shutting down, and he's in the second phase. He's going to start losing fast again, you
yeah.
know. So his body's like, all right, fine. You're healing. No more food for a bit. We're good. You know, let me burn some of this more of this fat off. You know? So yeah, you guys are. I mean, star students is the best thing that I can think of. You know, you guys are like I always say, if people would just listen and just try it, like you can always go back. You can always go the other way. No, that's not hard.
My weight's falling quick at the moment. It's hard.
Right.
Weirdly, after the weekend, my weight went up, and I was eating. I didn't come off the diet at all. That's the first time I've seen it jump up quite. So I went up to like 140, and I was 138, and now it's gone back down to like 136. I think it is today. But that's all
So
in the space of a week.
you have pictures of before?
Do I have pictures? Yeah.
No, I just want just double checking from before. What's
Uh,
what is it? I mean, look, we don't usually talk about weight, but I think it's relevant for a lot of the people that would be listening. What's the goal? Again, I forget.
so we started the 50 kg drop podcast to lose 50 kilograms, and me and Bob, who were starting it, were 168 kilograms, I think we were, or around the 160s, and we wanted
Is
to.
it right? The conversion right at 2, or is it 2.1 or something?
I can Google it. I'll give you the pounds. And truth be fair, if you listen to the early podcast, it's 370 pounds.
Yeah.
We were clueless on how to lose weight. We were actually fatigued of dieting because we had dieted, it worked in the past, and we were like, we can't go back to that, we can't go back to this, can't do that, can't do that.
Right.
So we listened to a load of people to try and get to where we wanted to get to. 50 kilograms would leave us on 118 kg. And when very early episodes, we were like, well, what's the goal? So we were looking to get down to 260 pounds. So what's that? 110 pounds drop.
Okay. And when was the last time you were at 160? Or yeah,
When I was 13 years old.
okay.
Really don't know. I went on one of their machines that tells you what your body is, and I'm 108 kilograms with no fat on me. So if you take the fat off me, I'm 108. So 118 would be pretty light anyway. The best I've got down to is 123, 123, something like that for boxing. And that was me training 6 days a week, this sort of stuff. And for years, I always thought it was the training why I was that shape. And as soon as I came out of boxing, I started drinking and getting off the diet and this sort of stuff. And actually, at the time, I had a rule with my dieting where I would eat nothing that's been changed. So meat's fine, vegetables fine, but rice in theory is fine. But I wouldn't eat pasta because it's been man-made or produced and this sort of stuff. And that's when I got down to the 122, and I was working out 6 or 7 times a week. But in my head, I was like, that was a huge effort to get to that point. Can I keep that up? Do I want to keep that up? That sort of stuff is the thing that I was battling. And this diet's proved that I really don't need to exercise that much to get them results. So
So 122 is 2.2 kilogram, basically. So that's 268, 270 pounds. Even at 6'4", were you happy with the level of body composition at that point?
yeah, I still thought I was morbidly obese in my head.
Well,
I could,
that's something that's like real next level stuff. That's body dysmorphia, and we'll get into that if we need to. But what I'm asking here is like, a lot of times what happens is people go rocketing right by their goal weights. And, 6'4", 268 is a really solid tight end in the National Football League, but, US football. Like
yeah,
that's a big guy. And, the linemen are, they're always looking like heavier, but like the possibility exists, especially if you do something like cycling, that 250 or even 240 might not be unrealistic, so 240 divided by 2.2, so that's 109 kilograms, 110.
yeah. 110 would be currently it would be me, what, 2% body fat or something like that.
Yeah, well,
The goal for now was to get to 136, and that was the last time I boxed, which was my third fight, which I had the worst training camp for. That was 136, but I used to stay at 136 regularly, so that's my like comfortable weight. I know that clothes fit. I don't feel like I'm like morbidly obese, but it's been 6 years since I've been there. So now that I'm at that point, this is like giving me all the confidence in the world to then go, right, what do I want next? And what I want next is to get into them 120s at least.
okay.
Um, but if I can get down to the 110s, then that's when the other thing I want to do is get quite like a lot stronger. I used to do a lot of powerlifting. I'm naturally strong,
Mhm.
and I never did it for a prolonged period of time. I used to go to a guy, did some personal training with it, and I feel as if I could get really strong and just the other bits I want to do is like all of these. I ran the marathon at 168 kilograms. I want to actually try and train properly, compete for that while I've got a body that's going to actually keep up with that and see how fast I could do a proper marathon or at least complete it without stopping, for example, where I was walking most of the other one because I was jogging slower than I was walking at one point because I'm so tired. So yeah, that kind of sports brain's in me where it's like I want to get like performance fit now. That's the bit that I want to do. And
Well, I think
yeah,
that's very, very possible, very, very doable. I think you're going to find a body under there that, if it's been able to perform this well carrying weight. I think I've told you about my coach who is an ultra marathoner. She was carrying 15 extra pounds running 100 miles a week. And now she's in her 50s too. I mean, her times are way down and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, this is all going to happen, but it won't be lifelong. It won't be, your new reality unless we deal with the other stuff. You'll get an injury, you'll do something, there'll be a reason, another lockdown, whatever. And it's you know, we've got to get the mental processes correct and going in, you know. That's why I want to kind of be on this journey with you till the holidays, at least once a month, so that we can kind of keep an eye on what the changes are, what the evolution is, and
Yeah.
what you're up to, you know. The weight
Yeah.
loss is going to continue. I mean, I did want to bring it up because a lot of people, they're just very curious about that. Some of the stuff that we're talking might have zoned them out a little bit because they don't want to talk about it. Face it, you and Taylor are just so willing to talk about the real stuff. It's very encouraging.
We said to ourselves that we were going to give this 90 days and just be totally open book. So
Yeah.
that was the plan. And I think both of us are loving life with it. I think Taylor keeps getting illnesses more than me, but yeah, so he's a bit bruised at the moment by it. But I do think it's just been a great night exercise. For me, it's like, I like to know that I've got some process to give me total control, and I feel totally in control at the moment, which is a first for a long time, I can say. I spent my 20s kind of getting addicted to everything you can possibly imagine, and I've been unwinding that in my 30s ever since. So
Okay.
yeah, so all of that's kind of way in the past now, and I've got good willpower to just stop something. That's the thing.
Sometimes those are the worst clients because they seem to have success with whatever they put their mind to, but it's the long-term success. A lot of them substitute some other whatever, you know.
Yeah.
You know, work or whatever. They, you know, it's amazing, really. But we're looking for the mental piece, you know. We're looking for the mental piece, you know. Physical piece, sure, but we're looking for the mental piece that comes with this type of recovery. And here's the thing, it'll come one way or the other. Your mental state will be interrupted, changed, morphed. It'll be different, and 90% of the time it's positive, but we have to shepherd it along the way. You know, we have to keep an eye on it along the way.
Sure.
So
Good man, Mike. I've got to go to a Russian banya, so
enjoy.
I'll speak to you next week when we've completed the 90 days, and I'll have Taylor with me as well.
Excellent. Good. Have a great weekend.
You too. See you soon. Bye bye.
We've got some diet plans, health scans, sugar bans, fitness fans, PTs, injuries, laying off the Chinese, ball games, gym chains, protein gains and skin tight tops, and we ain't gonna stop until we hit the 50k. Drop, 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 drop. No excess fat, no FAT, no curry back, no guarantee. Rough or buff, lean on me. We'll end up as fit as a bear.